Welcome to In Alignment. I'm Annie.
And I'm Marissa. You were meant to find this today, and we're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to In Alignment. Happy Tuesday. We are excited to be with you today. Today, Marissa and I are going to talk about the power of female friendships, what they look like, how to find really good friends, how to leave situations that are not serving you, knowing that you are deserving of really nurturing and complete friendships. And yeah, all things female friendships, including our experiences and very tactical tips. As I've been reflecting, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but really good friends are one of the most nurturing types of relationships that you could have in your life. And on the other end of the spectrum, not good friends that are either competitive or they don't see you for you or they're not supportive or they cheer for you most when you're struggling. Those can be just as toxic or unhealthy to have in your life. So it's kind of two ends of the spectrum, and it's like a food, like a fast food and a green salad. They can either be incredibly nurturing or really harmful to our health.
Yeah, for sure. I think in general, having strong community around you is one of the most important things for our overall happiness and health and everything. And we've talked about that. That's part of what Shift is we want to bring that community to more women. Because I think as we get older, sometimes our circles can get smaller and hopefully richer as they get smaller, but also trying to establish new friendships or deepen old ones can get more complex as we get older and people start moving or enter different phases of life. And I think for both of us, especially right now, I'm going through so much change, like moving out of New York, albeit potentially temporarily, and traveling. It's really made me realize how important my friends are for my overall happiness and well being, but also just in those moments of like really needing my friends, having them show up for me has been probably the most healing thing that I've done for myself in the last few months is like leaning on them and spending time with them.
I think it's interesting to talk about like the characteristics of really good friends because I feel like most of us through our lives have experienced both ends of the spectrum. In your closest friends, what are the qualities or characteristics that you value or admire most?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I think the first thing I have to say is one of the things that I think was preventing me from having deep friendships for a long time was my own lack of authenticity in showing up in those friendships. I was afraid to show weakness or to show maybe where I wasn't. Yeah, like I was afraid to show my full self, and that was part of my perfectionism. But that prevented my friendships from deepening as much as they could. And so, as I have been more myself and just honest about the highs, the lows, everything I'm going through, that has been reflected back to me. So, I think the most important thing with friendship is like true authenticity. You know that that person sees you for you, is you feel like a lack there's not going to be judgment, and vice versa, you feel like you're really getting the real them. There's kind of nothing like that in this world. And then, I think people who are just in general give a lot of like give grace, because I think one of the things that we see a lot online with like the narratives around friendship is this person did this wrong, so like I'm cutting them off or whatever. And it's like if you want a long-term friendship, you have to allow for people to not be perfect all the time, and not just perfect in their own lives, but perfect with you. And so I think in my closest friendships, there's just a lot of grace for maybe we won't always be like talking all the time or like hanging out all the time, but you just like kind of know that that person is there. So yeah, I think authenticity and like grace and and just like genuinely wanting the best for you, like knowing that that person wants the best for you. What are your kind of like main qualities?
I also think that we can have a multitude of different types of friends. Like, I think that we can have friends for different reasons, like friends that we love to travel with, friends that we love to have a fun night out with, friends that we love to play a sport with. And then we can have like these nurturing soul sister type friends, the friends that we call in the middle of something, the friends that we have really deep conversations with. I think that not everybody has to check every one of your boxes. And I think kind of to what you were saying, of we need to have grace and flexibility. Like a friend can never be your lifeline, just like a relationship can. Like you can't expect your friends to, I don't know, like complete every piece of you or satisfy every need that you have. But I will say, in my core 5 to 6 truly best friends in the world, they have 2 ingredients. Well, more than that, but 2 that I've really realized I value more than anything, and I've learned how to be a good friend through them. They are the most active listeners. So when I'm telling them about my business, about a breakup, about a life thing that I'm going through, about an idea that I have, they will sit and just listen to me for like an hour. I mean, as long as I'm talking, they're dead eye contact listening. And then they ask the most thoughtful questions. And I remember the first true best friend that I had like this that I met in college. And I literally learned how to be a good friend through her because I was like, wow, someone listening to you, deeply caring, and asking the most thoughtful questions to get you to think deeper, to help you solve your own problems. It was just, and then, I mean, I got really fortunate. My college friends are exceptional human beings. And I've met others along the way. And I was like, wow, to me, that is like deeply caring, really active listening, and asking just the most thoughtful questions. And then I think the other ingredient is they're the least competitive people I've ever met in my life. Like this morning, I posted a really vulnerable Substack, probably the most honest one I've written. Most all of my closest friends. Annie, I'm so proud of you. This was so vulnerable. I relate so much to this. I'm going to share this with my community. And it's like, I've had other friends from earlier in my life and they're competitive. They won't even like my stuff relating to my business. They won't follow me. They won't acknowledge it. They won't talk about it. They make jokes about it. And it's just like the difference in friendships and quality is it's life-changing, and I will also say, and I'm curious if you relate to this too, but I mean, not just my college friends, but a lot of my college friends and then friends that I've met. I've maybe like 3 other really close friends that weren't from college, but are similar to that friend group in characteristics. I have taken more risks in my life, starting businesses, publishing things that are more vulnerable, leaving relationships that don't serve me because they have given me the confidence to do so, or they've encouraged my own confidence. And I think that's another really good friends can be accelerators to amazing change in your own life.
100%. I think I have several there are several friends. Actually, we talked about this in Miami. Remember how we were talking about how you almost like have different friends? You just said this, but we have different friends for different things. And almost like you asked me, like, are I maybe give more advice and someone else is more fun and like a listener. And it's funny because I think too, there's certain friends who I go to more for like the business stuff who it's not even necessarily that they're doing anything similar, but they just are like the mindset around it is so great. And one of my best friends, Sue's, when I call her, if I'm like feeling self doubt or feeling upset, she'll usually first ask me, do you want to vent or do you want me to make you feel better? And I really appreciate that because sometimes I just want to vent and sometimes I want her to hype me up. And when she hypes me up, I mean, she really like goes for it. You know, she helps me visualize what I'm going for, helps me break through the noise. And I love and appreciate that so much. And then, you know, I have like some of my other friends are just the most nurturing, like sweet, loving friends. And then some of them are maybe gonna like if I'm overthinking something, they're just more lighthearted, and so they might bring the temperature down a little bit. And so I think it's funny too when you start to recognize like kind of your different friends' qualities, they can show up for you in different ways, which is really, really nice. And I also find a difference because I have a few like close guy friends, some gay friends, some girlfriends, and also like the kind of texture of the friendships between those is different and can be helpful for different things. But did you meet most of your close friends today? Are they mostly from college or did you kind of make more along the way?
Well, okay, you also said this earlier, but having grace for people. And I think that is something that I wasn't always good at. So long did not have. I always had no, I don't mean this in like a weird way. I had like intellectual confidence. Like I knew that I could do well in school. I went to good school. Like I knew I was smart and capable, but I didn't always have relational confidence. That is where I actually struggled the most. I was the most insecure. And a few things happened to me. I was cheated on really badly when I was younger. I had like a betrayal of a big friend group. And I think that that equated to like something must be wrong with me. And that fear of abandonment really came up in relationships, both romantic and friendships. So I was always really quick to cut people out because I wanted to leave before they could hurt me. So I would say having grace and flexibility for my friends is something that I developed through college and after college. But for my younger middle school, high school life, I struggled with that. Like, if I thought that somebody was gonna hurt or reject me, I would just leave first, both romantically and in friendships. So, I don't think that I understood friendship in the way that you just articulated, which is the best way to have friends, honestly, until a bit later in life. But I've always been someone who staying in touch with friends is really important. I definitely have a lot of people throughout a lot of periods of my life, but the way that I have related to my friends has changed as I've gotten older, and I think the more in touch I've gotten with myself and the more vulnerable I've gotten and honest with who I am, I have, like, energetically matched with different people. So, my evolution of, like, moving into my authenticity and working through that abandonment wound and realizing that, like, I don't need to leave things before they leave me. Like, I can handle rejection. I can be brave. I can be imperfect. As soon as I shifted into that energy, I started connecting differently with the same people and meeting new people who are like my soul sister friends. And a lot of those are college and kind of surrounding just outside of college is when I met them. But I actually I wanted to ask you that exact question of you mentioned before when you started becoming more vulnerable and more yourself, your relationships changed. Did they change with your existing friends, or did you meet new people in life because you were embodying a more authentic version of yourself?
I think both. My friends that I have now, I have friends from almost every portion of my life, same as you. And one of the things I actually want to talk about how to do this because I think one of my best skills in life is my ability to keep up with people. I I am not like one of those people who's like, "Oh, they have to reach out to me as much as I reach out to them." Like I know that I'm good at this, so like I will keep that as long as they want to see me and hang out with me and are responsive to me, which like people just get busy or whatever, but as long as there's a mutual interest in keeping the friendship alive, like, I will make sure that I'm always reaching out. I, like, know if I'm in someone's city, like, I'll reach out to them, and that has allowed me to maintain friends from my study abroad. Like, I'm going this weekend with a group of friends from my study abroad, from college, from my first job. Like, I worked at Peloton for 4 years. I have deep, deep friendships with some of my coworkers there. It led to my next role, like, high school, middle school, one of my best friends from when I was 4, and it's like, the key there is grace and keeping up. And like, if you have those two things, if you can accept that someone is not going to be the same friend to you the whole way up, and like sometimes you'll be closer, sometimes you'll be less close, but like you just care about them and want to keep that alive, like you can do that. And it's the most rewarding thing. And as this period of massive uncertainty, the way these people have showed up and been like, come stay with me for a few weeks or like, just checking on me, like, I guess I've never really, like, needed anything the way I have this year, and so this was the first time in a really long time that I actually was, like, kind of experiencing what it feels like to need people and have them be there. I was like, "Oh, you know, this is, I guess, what it's like to, like, have these friends who, like, will show up for you. It's been really amazing." And they always would have done that. I haven't, like, really needed it in the same way. And so when we talk about the becoming more authentic and connecting with people, these people were always wonderful, good people, and I always recognized that in them. I just wasn't being my full self, so I wasn't experiencing the true depth of friendship that I could have with them. And then also, like, I met new friends, but I the friends that like I mentioned this in a different podcast briefly, but I had like one kind of massive friendship falling out in college. Fortunately, I actually have not had one since. Again, people get less close, but there's a difference between like I almost feel like culturally people need to learn that it like you don't have to cut ties with someone just because you're less close. It is so important for relationships to like not be gripping them with a death grip, and then they'll survive a lot longer. You'll come back and you'll like it's so important. But like in college, I had one of those ones where it was like, this person does not want the best for me. This person is actually quite cruel to me. And in those moments, like you have to make a shift. And I think at the time I was so focused on like winning them back because I didn't have my own self-confidence enough to realize like this is not the type of person that I want in my life, you know?
So we talk a lot about grace and being malleable. And just because somebody isn't the perfect friend or doesn't satisfy every need does not mean that you need to cut them out. But you also had an experience where you did need to cut them out. They were not healthy for you. I have personally struggled with this a lot because I think, as I mentioned before, I struggle with self trust, like in romantic relationships and friendships. Of, is it fair for me to be upset about this? Like, is this enough to classify them as not a good friend? Therefore, I need to fully remove them. Or, can I kind of have them circulating in my life and just not get too worked up over the ways that they hurt me and kind of take the good in it or lean into the sides that I do like and that do feel healthy? In your experience with your friendships, you're really good at this because you maintain so many friends across so many walks of your life. You're such a good friend. You check in. You're one of the most responsive people ever. How do you know what the difference is between somebody that can kind of be a shelf friend that you don't need to over index on, but you don't need to cut them out, and an unhealthy friendship that you do need to fully remove yourself?
Yeah, I'll give you a tangible example. Let's say you have a friend and you guys all throughout your 20s were besties. You went out every Friday, you were texting constantly. That friend meets a guy, she gets engaged, and now she's planning her wedding. And she is less available. She's really consumed with her wedding, and she's just not the same. Like your friendship isn't the same. I've seen a lot of friendships break down when one person is getting married. And it's not, I think people might think, oh, they're jealous, but it's really not that. It's like a hurt of a loss of the relationship that existed before. And I think that if you want to maintain your friends and know that like that person loves you and cares about you, you have grace for the fact that this person's life is changing and your life is changing in a different way at a different time. And that person is not going to be close to you all the time. But I think you can also say to that person, like without any guilt, like try to figure out how you can spend time with this person in a way that works out for both of you. It's not going to be every weekend anymore. It's not going to be all the time, and maybe it's going to be more after the wedding. But like you can also ask like, hey, like, you can ask them about their wedding. You can ask them questions and ask to help. Like there's so many ways that you can relate to this friend in a new way. And it is sad. And there is like a grieving that happens when your paths go in different directions. I've had friends move away. I've had friends have babies. I've had friends, like start a new career that's super demanding, and things do change for periods of time. But what I've found is that when the core of them still, you still love each other, you still care about each other, those things are completely workable. The key is to not apply guilt when they're going through something because it's not about you. The second thing is to try to like decenter yourself and to try to say you know, like it's not all about you either. And so it's like, how can you adjust your dynamic for both of you? And those are the things that I think are really important. Verse when the friendship breakup that I'm talking about, this is someone who, when I was at the true, like, lowest point of my life, I'm again mentioned this on another podcast. My family had just lost our house. My dad was in rehab. Like, it was so bad. And I was so low. And I was on a medication that was really messing with me. I was not like doing well. I mean, she ghosted me. She just like stopped being my friend. She was talking behind my back. She was like just not only not wanting the best for me, she was actively hurting me when I was hurting the most. So that's pretty cut and dry. But I think a less cut and dry example of that is when someone is rooting for your downfall in any way, like they're not happy for you when you get the new job. They are talking poorly about you when you meet a guy you like. And it's not because the guy's bad, or I mean, your friends should never talk poorly about you, but like it's not coming from a good place. That is the dynamic when it makes sense to distance yourself and break away, because those friends will break your soul and they're not friends. So the difference of knowing like it is someone's heart in the right place and maybe their life is changing and it's not about you. And can you like have grace and develop and evolve your friendship? Or is that person actively not wanting you to be your happiest, best self? Are they not having grace for you when you're going through a hard time? And those people are just not worth sticking with. I don't know if that kind of resonates with you at
It
all.
does. I think that there's, like, that murky gray area too, though, of when, like, I had a friend from earlier in my life who I really tried to maintain the connection with because there were good sides. It's like a romantic relationship. Like, you can always list some positives, unless it's, like, abusive relationship, but then there's also some negatives, and I think romantic relationships can be more cut and dry because it's like they're your person or you're not, and I honestly believe if it's not a hell yes, it's probably a no. But with friends, it's not that. Like every friend, that is just unrealistic expectations to be like every friend needs to be a hell yes and check every single box. Like that is not fair to put that responsibility on a friend. So I think that they're a little bit more, they can sit in the more gray area sometimes. But I had a friend from earlier in my life who there were some really amazing parts of her, but I noticed she never asked about my career. She never congratulated me when things went well. She never wanted to meet my college friends. She never recognized what I did for work. She would look at my TikTok page or look at my stuff for my business. She wouldn't follow it. I mean, that's insane. When I see her, there's never, "Oh my god, you're starting a company," or, "Oh my god, tell me about your boyfriend," or, "Tell me about your career, tell me about the move back to Boston," like, nothing, no interest. And for me, I grappled with, and this probably came from a place of a little bit of lower self-worth for a bit of time, but, like, there's so many good qualities or some good qualities, but is it fair that this just feels weird? And I finally decided, I said, I was just like, this isn't healthy. Like a friend should be cheering you on. And I think I looked at some really good relationships in my life and I was like, this one is actually making me feel worse. I always leave feeling worse. And I cut it out and I felt an energetic shift, like so much better. But I think there are some relationships that sit in this murky in between.
I mean,
Maybe it's
you just kind
hard.
of summed up like what I said again. This person was an extreme. Also, I didn't really have a choice to keep the friendship. Like she cold cut me out and like that was that. But I for a while my response was like I want to win her back until I was like, it's sort of like anything with the universe. When something is removed from your life, it hurts at first and then you see so clearly like I this person could not have come with me to this next phase of my life. They couldn't come to this next journey and we're glad. But what you're describing is ultimately the difference. If you are thinking this about a lot of your friends, it can make sense to look inward. And I've had this before where I felt like so insecure with myself that I didn't necessarily trust other people around me. But if you have like all of these wonderful friendships and there's one specific person who really is like repeatedly making you feel not so great and you really don't think that they are rooting for you, that is a perfect example of a friendship to not nurture. And I think that if that person is like, usually when you kind of drop, like, and when I say drop them, like, I also think in society, we should not feel the need to be so dramatic with these things. Like a lot of like the really explosive long text message, like telling them they're breaking up with them. If someone asks like, "Hey, I feel like there's been a distance," you can say something. But I think just kind of like not initiating all the time, not reaching out to someone who doesn't make you feel good is like a pretty straightforward thing to do. In general, in life, don't reach towards the things that make you feel bad, whether that's a friend, someone in dating, a situationship, like anything. It's just stay like put that energy towards the people who make you feel good. And if you're finding that most people make you feel insecure and bad, then that coming from my own experience, that is like more of an inward sign. But if it's like one person, that's a clear sign that that's not aligned for you.
That's actually a really, really good point about, if it's multiple people that you're having a problem with, because I used to experience that. I used to be so avoidant of my own pain and discomfort that I'd find issues everywhere outside of myself. So, like, this person would irritate me for this, or I felt like this friend was triggering me in this way, or whatever it may be, not just friends, like all areas, work, my boss, like there was always an issue. And I realized that that was a mechanism to escape internal pain. So I think what you just said is so important. It's two questions. Is what do you believe the intention is behind that person's actions? Is it love or is it, something negative? And then secondly, look broader out at your life. Like identify who your really close friends are and why they're such a close friend. Like for me, I value, as I said before, listening, questions, and genuinely cheering you on, like no competitive nature. And then kind of audit, like, is this a me thing? Am I trying to escape something by discharging blame or even like putting anger or frustration elsewhere to avoid something internally? Or is it really about that person? I think that that's a really, really good tangible test if you're grappling with kind of that decision we were just talking about. I want to flip to the positive though. So Suze is a really good friend of yours and she is
Yes.
so supportive. And you've mentioned a lot of amazing characteristics about her. I want to know two things. How did you meet her? And what are tips for meeting and connecting with really good friends? And two, you don't live in the same city. How do you nurture that connection so it stays so strong?
Yeah. Well, one last quick thing on the grace thing. I also think it's important for people to know the difference. Just because something hurts your feelings doesn't mean the other person did something wrong. So this is going to transition really well into Sue's, because when Sue's moved away from New York, I was so sad. Like, I took it personally, which is crazy. And I know that I do this, and I even told her at the time, like, I am so sorry that I'm taking this way. I'm really happy for you, but, like, it's just really hard for me. And so just because someone hurts your feelings doesn't mean that they did something to you. And being able to distinguish between those things will save you a lot of heartache in your friendships. I've actually had this happen with two friends who, one moved back, but who moved away. And, like, you would think that they said, Marissa, I can't live in the same city with you anymore. Like, it hurt. I didn't want them to leave. And, yeah, that was my own shit that I had to get together. Like, it's not on them. No one has to make any life decisions based on me and what I want them to do. So anyway, yeah, I have, and I'm very grateful. I feel like if any of my other friends listen to this, all of my close friends are like such amazing, amazing friends. But for the sake of this conversation, I'll tell you about Suze. So Suze and I actually met, and this is a great, great way to meet people. So my best friend from high school went to college, and Suze was her roommate, and she had several roommates, and I'm actually close with all of them. Your friends are the best vehicle for making more friends. If you love someone and think they are amazing, the other people in their life are likely also going to be amazing. And we've talked about this too, but like there can be weirdness or jealousy here. I've not experienced this. My friends, and same with me, like I want all my friends to be friends. It's very efficient for hanging out if everyone's already friends and you can combine plans. But I've also found that, like, I think about, my friend Maddie has brought people into my life. Like, all these people have brought new people into my life, and that has very naturally expanded my circle. Even you, Annie, since you and I have been friends, you've brought the most amazing women into my life who I now text with one on one. And I'm like so grateful that they're here because you have great taste in friends. So if you have one friend, you already could have five more friends because you can befriend their friends. And so that's ultimately how Susan and I became close. She moved to New York. She didn't really know anyone in the city. I had a group of friends here, and I took her into the group. It's funny now because I would never, it's like hard to even think about the fact that they didn't all already know each other. And yeah, like that was just like how we became friends. And so merging friend groups too, like immediately introducing someone into your larger fold, the stronger those independent relationships are, the more you'll end up seeing people, because those two people will grab dinner and be like, hey, come meet us for a drink, or they'll plan a trip. I think in general, one on one friendships can be very difficult to maintain because you have to continuously keep up that one on one relationship. So the more you can introduce your friends and create connections of like people who you think would like each other, the more, like, the better time you're going to have keeping up with people, and the more your world will expand. So that's how I've made a lot of friends. That's how I've kept a lot of friends. Even it's like some of my Peloton friends are friends with my normal friend. Like, it's great. I don't know if you have that too, because I feel like you have like a pretty large group of girls, and not all of them are from college.
The best people are connectors. Like, I have such a pet peeve of people that are like, "Oh no, I'm not free that night. I'm getting dinner with these girls." It's like, invite that person. Like,
Yeah.
if I have a dinner with 3 girls and another friend says, "What are you doing Friday night?" I bring her. Like, why wouldn't I? Obviously,
Yeah.
and then they become friends. Like, there's nothing awkward or weird about that. It's amazing. And so many of my friends, like, I don't know, I'm sure you're referencing like Justine or Alex, who you connect with through me. Like, that makes me literally so happy to hear. I love that. And that's the other thing too, is if you're nervous about saying, well, I don't really know if this friend's going to get, who cares? Like, you're not responsible for everybody at the dinner table's ways of connecting and if they're going to vibe or not. Just include them. Make sure that the conversation kind of touches on everyone. Like, it's light. You don't have to overthink it or over engineer it. And if they vibe, amazing. But I don't know. I think it's not sad, but it's an unfortunate way to go through the world where things are siloed, like high school, college, home friends, like, just merge. And you would be surprised how many people appreciate an invitation like that. How many people are looking, like, I think you and I are really fortunate because we do have really, really, really good friends, and a lot of them. That is, like, not the norm, especially in today's social media, tech-driven world. People are lonely, and they're looking for authentic connection. So if you can be the person that says, "Come to this dinner, come on this trip, come to coffee with me and this girl that I'm" like, just bring people together, and you have no idea the impact that it can have on other people's lives.
It's life changing. And it also is like a karmic thing. Like, the more you do it, the more people will want to include you. It's a way to make your world bigger. And I can actually speak now from the experience. Like, one of the reasons that had all these like close friendships is because I lived in New York for almost 10 years. And fortunately, a lot of my college friends, even though we went to the University of Georgia, a lot of my friends actually moved to New York. So I got really lucky. But the last 4 months, I've been living out of the city. I lived in Austin for a month. I've been kind of in Miami. I've been at my mom's house. I'm gonna live in San Diego for a month, and there have been some nights that I'm really, really lonely, and I've reached out to certain people, or even, like, a great example, I went to a workout class in Naples recently, and I saw these 2 girls there back to back. Like, I was in the same Pilates class with them 2 days in a row, and I just said, "Hey," like, you know, Naples, Florida, by the way, does not have the most young people around. Like, this is definitely an older community. And I was like, I'm here, like, on and off. My mom lives here. Do you guys live here? I'd love to meet you. They invited me to go to Pura Vida with them after class. We followed each other on Instagram. Now, when I'm here, like, it's these things take a little bit of vulnerability, and you'd be amazed at how inviting people can be if you kind of put that out there. And the more you do that for others, the more it'll happen for you too. And so I think in this period of being disconnected from my friends, I'm on the other side of it where, like, I'm really, really grateful for any of those invitations. And the other piece of that is say yes. So, like, if you are in a new city, like, take up every invitation you can. You never know who you're gonna meet. And that's been my attitude. I'm not like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm really gonna like them, or I don't really like that restaurant, or maybe like I'll be tired." It's like I will literally go to anything for the chance to connect with someone. And now I'm kind of excited. If I do move back to New York in the fall, which is like tentatively my plan. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have these like new little friendships. And even though sometimes I'm like, I wish I could delete my Instagram, thank God for Instagram, because it is a way for me to always kind of know where people are in the world and like be able to reach out to those people whenever I do travel. And so like that's building relationships when you travel is also a great way to like, I don't know, just expand your world a little bit, you know?
It's funny, I have a notes folder on my phone literally called Friends, and I have, like, every city. I have LA, San Diego, Miami, Austin, SF, New York, Boston, London, and I have lists of everybody I knew in those cities. And when I go, I always to a city, I always try like, when we were in Miami, we texted a bunch of people we knew, we got lunch, we did a workout, whatever it may be. And then even, like, in Boston, I will periodically look through that list and be like, who would love to meet each other? Let's invite that group to dinner. Let's invite these 4 people to a workout. And it's just, I don't know, it's so cool. Like being a connector is amazing. And if you're not naturally a connector, I think, you're obviously an extrovert and you love and thrive on social connection. Not everybody is like that. Then the other people really benefit from the connectors. So if you're not naturally one, or you're not as much as maybe Marissa and I are, the connectors out in the world really kind of bring together the people where that doesn't come as naturally, and it's a beautiful thing. I
Yeah.
wanna get tactical for a second. Both Marissa and I are in our 30s, early 30s. We are both single. We are both starting a company. Everybody is in a different place in their lives. I have a lot of friends that are single. I also have a ton of friends that are getting married. I have a lot of friends that are married. When we are in our late 20s, in our early 30s, maybe we're going through a breakup, maybe we're getting married, maybe we're having a kid, maybe we're starting over and moving cities, and we need to make new friends. How do you go about it? We've talked a little bit about friends through friends. You mentioned Pilates class. What are some other ways?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's daunting to try to make a new friend because we actually had someone else on our podcast who's like a professional connector. Like, she has a community as a company. And she talked about how many kind of meetings it takes to really establish a true, deep, close friendship. And so, one of the things that I think really helps with this is, and I said this earlier, but one on one connections can be very difficult to really nurture and maintain. It's more like dating where you have to keep making one on one plans. So what I've found to be really, really helpful is to create like as you sort of meet people, create things to invite multiple people together. So for example, a great thing for me to do in Naples would be I met those two girls, I met one other girl, and then I know actually a girl from childhood who like happens to live here for her residency. I should like book a dinner reservation and invite all of them. And that like level of like in that it'll create like a deeper kind of like web of connection. And the more you invite people to do things that aren't just one on one, the more also they'll think of you to invite you to other things too. And so I think the first key is like meeting people. You have to put yourself out there, whether that is if you move to a new city, think about who you know who has ever lived there, who does live there, and tell them, I'm moving to the city. I want to make new friends. Or like, even if you're in the same city, but your friends are all kind of in a different space in life as you. That vulnerability, like I found that women really, really resonate with that. Like, even as we've been starting a company in the health and wellness space, I've been reaching out to women who are doing something similar and just say, hey, I don't have a lot of friends who are doing this. I would love to, get to know you better, whatever. And people respond really well. So start there and then be the person who like create a plan, invite people to the plan. And I definitely don't want to say that's easy because I am an extrovert. And so like I don't feel shy in doing that. And if you do feel shy, it's a muscle. So like the more you exercise it, the better you'll get at it. And also I can't tell you how, Annie, we've both experienced this, but like people really like to be included. People want to be your friend. People want to do these things. And so every time I'm feeling insecure or like, I don't want to bother that person, even sometimes when we haven't invited people to things, 'cause we're like, oh, that person would never want to come to this. Like they're too busy. Whatever. They've reached out and been like, hey, like I would have loved to come to that. And so like never ever assume that someone's too cool, too busy. Like people want to come and they want to be your friend. So that's my advice is like start with any connection you might have from a job, from a friend, see who they're willing to introduce you to, go out and do things, and then start inviting those people to like a greater plan.
And I think if you're too nervous too to be the connector or the initiator, because I get that, like it can be scary to try and initiate a meetup or a dinner, whatever it may be. Go to events, like just put yourself out there. Like go to an art class, go to a workout class, go to a wellness event, and then just start there and ask one girl, hey, what's your number? Want to go to Pilates? Start a conversation, try and get deep. And then just build from there. Like, you don't need to be the initiator of the thing itself. If you're more comfortable going, then look for things to go to, ask to get included and make connections from there. I will also say the other really important thing
Wait, Annie, really quick.
is,
On
yeah,
what you just said, I just want you to quickly tell the story about what was the story with the girls who came to our event, who found the event and picked one for each other
wait,
from
what
Luma.
event?
Do you remember on Luma at the shift event, there was someone who found it? There were two, a girl came to our event who neither of us knew. They found it online, and she and her friend are both new to New York, and they picked an event for each other to go to randomly. They found it on Luma, and they each picked an event they thought the other one would like, and they went alone. And she came to this event and she made all these new friends. And I thought it was the coolest way to meet friends.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, and there's opportunity everywhere. Everywhere. Like I used to live in New York and like I could go to an event every night and I was in venture capital in the wellness space. Like I was literally at all female health and wellness, late 20-year-old events every night. I moved to Boston and when I first moved, I was in a relationship. So I was, also, okay, wait, big call out here. When you are in a relationship, do not lose your friendships. Don't stop going to things. Don't stop connecting people. Don't say no to more things. Like, yes, the reality is you can be busier, but Marissa and I are both single now, but have spent the majority of our 20s and early 30s in relationships. And I think one of the biggest pieces of advice, not saying that either of us did this, I think we're both very conscious of it, but do not lose your life. Still be a connector, still go to events, still put yourself out there. Uh, it is
It
like,
is
yeah,
it is the
it's
most if anyone could take one piece of advice from this entire thing, it would be that. Don't lose your friendships, don't lose your life, don't lose yourself in a relationship. I don't care if you think that you guys are going to die together when you're 100 years old. You need your female friendships, you need your connections, you need your life, you need who you are outside of that relationship for your relationship to be successful. not only for like not it's not in case we break up. It's like for you to be happy and for your relationship to be successful, you need your own life. And it's the mistake we've both seen so many people make. And it's heartbreaking because that person, like when if the relationship does end, that person is grieving 20 times harder. Like I honestly can't even fathom how hard this year would have been in my breakup if I had like I didn't miss a beat when it came to the rest of my life. Like it was hard enough to grieve that relationship. Holy, like if I was like having to reopen every friendship door, I can't even fathom it. And I've seen it so many times and it's so heartbreaking and it's easy to do. Like I don't fault the women who do that, but like don't do that. It is so bad for your soul. Like it is the worst thing you can do. And it's hard to recover those friendships sometimes because people feel abandoned by it. And so like it's not like you can just slip back into your old life. Like if you sacrifice those relationships, you lose a layer of trust of like, again, coming back to the grace thing earlier, that person doesn't need you don't need to hang out with them as much, but if you can't lose those, you have to still maintain your friendships and it takes work on both sides. And if you stop doing that work, it is extremely hard to recover.
I think some girls too, in like, I don't know, maybe you can look in your relationship if you feel this way, or not even just your relationship, but yourself and the way that you attach to people. But I think sometimes people are like, if I'm not free all the time, like early innings of dating or even in a relationship, like if I just go away for a weekend or I have these things booked over the summer that aren't with my partner, I'll lose like how connected we are, how close we are. I will lose, I have to be maintaining this at all times. And this is a litmus test because if it is the right relationship for you, you said this earlier in the podcast in regards to female friendships, it can sit in the palm of your hand like a dragonfly with an open face palm and it will not fly away. But if you are gripping, if you are making sure that you're saying only yes to the weekend away with your girlfriends that you're asked to go to if your boyfriend has a golf trip that weekend so he's already away, then guess what, you're gripping that dragonfly and it is going to die. It is
It's
going
gonna
to
die.
die. You
Let
have to be able to let go. And if that dragonfly flies away because you're on a girl's trip or you're busy living your life, he's not your partner. He's not your person.
let him miss you for God's sake. Like I actually think it's the craziest thing. The if like you will never regret going on the girls trip if he makes you feel bad about that or your relationship like loses steam because you went away for a weekend. Bye. What are we doing? That's crazy. I think it's rarely, well, maybe sometimes it's the guy, but I think it's usually our own insecurity that prevents us from doing it of like we just don't want to be apart or we whatever it may be. It just like doesn't feel like a priority. And that is the number one way to like just really lose the most important thing in your life. I actually talked about this. I don't, whatever. One of the things that I've really learned through my grandma living in an independent living facility in Naples, Florida, is like we have this narrative in our society that,
Right, Marissa, that is not where I thought you were going to go.
okay, hear me out. Okay, so my grandma lived in New York for 40 years. She had two husbands, both amazing men. She, not at the same time, to clarify. She moved to Naples 2 years ago and has been living in an independent living facility, like an elderly place, but she has her own apartment. And I go visit her a lot and I have dinner with her and her friends. And the number one thing you will notice if you go there is 90% of the people who live there are women. There are like almost no men. Because these women are all like 87, 88, and all the men are dead. Like literally all their husbands are dead. Okay, again, hear me out. We have this narrative in society of like, I need a husband, I don't want to die alone. Well, guess what? You're probably going to outlive him just statistically. And if these women didn't have their dear female friendships, their kids, their interests, their hobbies, the rest of their lives, they would be so lonely. And I think like the in society again we center these like romantic relationships so much, but it is the and then it's important, and like you and I both love being in relationships, we both want to get married and have families, all of those things. I'm not at all dismissing that, but these other relationships are so critical to having a full life. If you over index on your romantic partner at the sake of like your female friendships or even your platonic male friendships, it's just your friendships, you like that is a recipe for a very lonely life, whether it's because you break up in 2 years or because you realize 10 years down the road that you don't have friends anymore to go to, or when like you're in the old folks home and there's only women around. You know what I mean? It's like I really think that female friendships are like the most important things in our lives that are more guaranteed. Like, I know that these are friends that I will have for the rest of my life. And I could never say that about any man, frankly, no matter how in love I am or how much I trust them.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. I also think, I mean, I didn't know where you're going to go with that, but it's really so true. It is so true. And I think you also, through that story, articulated something really important that we also have to be okay alone. Like, our center of gravity cannot be your best friend. It definitely can't be your romantic partner. Like, it has to be within ourselves. And I think that when we nurture that and we build that, a few things happen. We get the confidence to do as what we've been talking about. Go up to that girl in your Pilates class. I met one of my closest friends, my neighbors. Okay, two of my closest friends in the seaport where I live in Boston. One is, like, literally one of my best friends and will be my best friend for the rest of my life. I can see her apartment right now. I met her looking for a loud noise one night. I was actually with my old boyfriend. There was like this banging DJ playing, we couldn't figure it out, and she was walking her dog, and I was like, "Do you know where this noise is coming from?" And I loved her energy. I thought she was great. I followed her on Instagram and I texted her. I said, "We should go for a walk sometime." And she's really close with all of my other friends now. She is one of my best friends. That is how I met her. Another one of my good friends, I met in the Trader Joe's produce aisle. I've always seen you in Pilates. I've wanted to say hi. I actually, like, didn't really think we were the same age. Same age, same life circumstances. She's great. She's an awesome friend. I love her. So you can meet friends in the most amazing ways. You're never too old, you know? One of them, I was in a serious relationship. The other one, I was single. Like, at any life circumstance, you can walk into and meet literally your best friend in the weirdest of ways. But when we move our center of gravity into ourselves, we get the confidence to go up to someone in a produce aisle, in a Pilates class, to go to an event alone and ask for a girl's number. We also don't attach ourselves to the rejection of that friend being busy on a holiday weekend and we're alone, or to the guy that ends up breaking up with us, or the third date that we get ghosted on. Our entire emotional center does not move with the weight of those people's decisions as a reflection on our self-worth when we build and nurture our relationship with ourselves. And when we do that, we can have the most beautiful, healthy female friendships. We can have a secure, independent, and deeply loving relationship with a romantic partner. And we can do, as you said early in the podcast, of have more grace for other people because we realize that everything is not a reflection on ourselves.
Completely. And I think that having a diverse set of friends too allows you to not over, like, we can't put everything onto one friend. It's not fair to them. It's not good for us. Like, there are times when one of my friends who I normally is my like go-to friend to call every day, maybe not every day, but you get my point. She might be going through something or in a really hard phase of work or in a new relationship. And like, instead of losing my shit that we're not talking all the time, maybe I'm like talking to some other people more and I get to say, I'm so excited for you. Like, let me know how I can support you. Let me know how I can be there for you. And actually, maybe I'm the one who's there for her, or she knows I'll be there when she's ready. Like, that is true friendship is predicated on knowing that we can be ourselves, be okay, have periods that we're like not as available and know that person's not going anywhere. And if someone feels this like nervous, and Marika also talked about that on the community podcast, but the energy that you go into a friendship with, the energy you go into networking with, it's also important. If you go in with this needy, controlling, take energy, people feel that and they don't want to be around it. If you go with like a genuine interest to connect, to get to know someone, to be there for them, to have grace for them, you will be amazed at how much your friendships prosper. And you'll very quickly identify people who don't vibe with that. And you don't need, like, I really, really, the other major thing I could say is like, don't write your friends 10-paragraph essays every time you're feeling like a little sad about something they did. Like, it's really, I think, not a good idea. Like, if someone, I was actually listening to like Lena Dunham and Amy Poehler talk about this, but like, just take a beat before you you know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of this of like really like blowing something up because someone couldn't come to a dinner or like couldn't go on your bachelorette or whatever it may be. Like, take a second to put yourself in their shoes before you like unleash onto a friend and have that grace and know that they'll have it for you. And your friendships will really be like very relaxed, happy, and long lasting.
But I also think, I mean, emotional reactivity is like a thing we need to work on as a society. But I also think ask yourself why you were so triggered by that. And usually the discomfort or the pain sits inside you.
Yes.
And it's something that it's same with a romantic relationship. Like, there have been so many points in romantic relationships where I get really triggered, and I realize it actually has nothing to do with anything that the other person did wrong. I just felt uncomfortable because of something I was holding, a pain I hadn't processed, a memory that it brought up for me, a deeper fear that I had, and it's not fair to put that responsibility on the partner to, like, never trigger that wound. That is on us. So always ask yourself that first before you react. This has been a really good, we were planning on doing 20 minutes, but that kinda got flowing and was very inspiring. I'm gonna go text a few friends.
Yeah. Wait, last really quick tangible nugget. I just sort of have a running loop of like my brain just works like this. I'm just like, who should I catch up with? But if you don't have that, put calendar reminders to like schedule reminders actually to check in with your friends because you don't want to be the person who only checks in with your friends when you need something. Like if you have these friendships that matter to you and you don't see them in your regular life, you're not in a group text with them, put little reminders so that you reach out to them because that is how you keep a relationship alive for years. There are friends I talk to 3 times a year, haven't seen in over a year, who are dear, dear friends. And when I do see them, it'll be amazing. But if we didn't have those little moments of connection, we could totally drop off the face of the earth. So schedule reminders is a great like little thing to do.
And reach out when things are good and when they
Yes.
might need to. Like, celebrate the wins too. I think that that's so important. Amazing. Well, thank you all for listening, and we will see you next Tuesday.
If something in today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to pause and notice where it's sitting within you.
Living in alignment is not about fixing yourself or becoming someone new. It's about listening, trusting, and slowly coming home to who you already are.
Thank you for spending this time with us and for being part of this community.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might resonate with it too. See you next time.